part of the work of dietitians means that you need a really strong background in the social sciences as well. Some dietitians do work with people who are struggling with eating disorders. Some people work with children and have to understand developmental psychology in children and how children learn to eat well. And so our profession is also got a second major area of emphasis in the social sciences, so psychology, sociology, and then cultural competence related to food and community dynamics. Food is such an important part of our lives, and in different cultures, food has different meaning and importance. Different foods are celebrated on special days, depending on where you are in the world. And as experts in nutrition, dietitians also have to understand that so that we can respect where people are coming from and work with them from where they feel comfortable. So I promised that I would tell you a little bit about some things that, are typically sort of flags that dietetics might be good fit for you. And so, some of those things are on the slide in front of you. So if you ask yourself the question like, are you interested in promoting health? That's a good sign that you're kind of going in the right direction, because dietetics, like nursing, like physical therapy, occupational therapy, medicine, is a health science. Are you a communicator who enjoys working with people and being with people? Our work is with people at all points. So researchers in nutrition work with other colleagues in research or research subjects. Those of us that work in roles that really promote healthy eating are working with the general public. Some people do work with hospitalized patients, but all of it is about being with people and communicating. And so if that's something that you enjoy, that might be a good sign that you're looking at the right type of career. A love of science is also important because it is the foundation of what we do. So chemistry, biology, biochem, physiology. If you are a science person and you like, kind of playing with science, especially I think physiology, biology, and chemistry, that's the sciences more so than something like physics, say, that really is a, part of the work of a dietitian. Do you like solving problems? Often that's what we're doing. People are having a hard time with something related to their nutrition. We need to come up with a food-based solution to just help them to turn that around. So how do we solve the problem if someone isn't able to eat well because they're short of money? How do we solve the problem if someone is struggling to keep their nutritional status up because they've got some type of, other serious health condition? And so a lot of what we're doing is solving problems, being really practical. And ultimately, when you talk to dietitians and students in dietetics about, hey, why did you go into this career? Like, what was the thing? Universally, what you will hear is that people say is that I went into dietetics and I wanted to be a dietitian because I really wanted to help people. I wanted them to have a life where they, their health was great. And so if you also share that, if that's something that interests you, and if you answered yes to, many of the questions that you see here, I would encourage you to apply for our program, because it sounds like if you're saying yes to a lot of these things, that you're probably, in the area that, is something that would interest you and meet some of your needs for what you're looking for as far as university studies and ultimately a career. So it doesn't matter where you study in Canada. There are 3 steps to become a registered dietitian, and these are shared in all provinces at all universities. So the first thing that you have to do is complete an approved undergraduate degree program. So a 4-year undergraduate degree in nutrition and dietetics. So there are some programs where they are foods and nutrition focused. You need to be in a program that is specifically tagged as being approved to take you towards dietetics. And in Alberta, the only program that is an approved undergraduate degree program leading to dietetics is the dietetics specialization at the U of A. And in your undergrad program, that's really where you get that in-depth knowledge of nutrition, metabolism, foods, how to do community programming, how to do counseling with people. I have dietitian colleagues who have been, become experts in nutrition counseling. It's so fun to watch them because they'll be counseling people and interviewing them and getting information. And it just looks like they're just having a conversation with someone. It's really casual. And meanwhile, they've, really gained some important information about how to help that person. Other people, focus on management, and being a manager and a leader is part of the education program for dietetics as well. And all student dietitians, prospective dietitians complete research work as part of their undergraduate degree program. So that's step one, is to make sure that you're getting into the correct type of program. It has to be an approved undergraduate degree program leading to dietetics. The next piece that all dietetics students in Canada complete is an approved internship. At the U of A, our internship is 1,640 hours in duration. It comprises your entire senior year in the dietetic specialization. And in internship, you are not in the classroom. You are out working alongside dietitians in the hospital, in community health units, schools, programs. You might be working in a food service operation or alongside a manager to gain the skills of a dietitian. So it's in internship that you get that hands-on experience. You work side by side in the real world with real patients and real people to get the professional skills that you need to work independently as a dietitian. The great thing about internship is that at the end of it, at the end of that year, full year of, hands-on experience and training, you really are ready to go to work. Um, Many of our we have students that are, just for context, who are completing their internships in April, their last year of their program in the dietetic specialization. It's currently January, and several of them already have jobs waiting for them because they are so well prepared, and employers that are looking for dietitians know, what our program outfits people with. The last step, and this happens after you are done university, usually within the first 6 to 12 months after you graduate, you'll write the Canadian Dietetic Registration Exam, or the CDRE. Dietetics is a regulated health profession in every province, which means that every province has standards for you to become a registered dietitian. And one of those standards is that you have to pass the national exam, or the CDRE. So that exam, as I say, is not optional. Everybody has to write it, and usually you write it within 6 to 12 months. I am very proud to say that the University of Alberta and our program has the highest pass rate in the country, yay, on the CDRE. So we're really proud of that statistic, and the fact that our students are so well prepared to, complete that exam and enter practice. And students you can work between finishing your internship and writing the CDRE. You work not as a registered dietitian, but as a temporary dietitian. And then when you write your exam and you pass it, you gain registration. So the career outlook for dietitians looks great, actually. So it's strong and expected to increase as members of the baby boom generation retire over the next few years. And we fill those spots that they've had in the workplace with hopefully all of you. The other thing that you've probably seen if you're interested in dietetics is just the fact that interest in nutrition and health just continues to grow. People are very interested in taking charge of their health, looking at options that we as individuals can control in terms of promoting our own health, and nutrition is a key part of that. So that translates into strong job opportunities for registered dietitians, particularly here in Alberta. Opportunities for people to really work in all parts of the province, including excellent employment opportunities in rural Alberta. Our profession is quite small, so we have about just under 1,500 registered dietitians in Alberta, and we do have an increased demand for um, new dietitians. So right now we're in a very unique spot where the demand is growing and the supply is relatively small. So we have the opportunity to bring lots of new people in. About 84% of dietitians work in healthcare settings. The remaining 16% work for government. They might work for, something like the university. Some of us that teach at the U of A or do research are here as well. Dietitians on average earn about $46 an hour. That is the average. So 50% of dietitians earn more than that, and some dietitians earn significantly more than that. So dietitians who ultimately move into management and leadership roles are earning in excess of $150,000 a year. So that is the average from the starting point of, just having finished your internship. And includes also those top earners in the profession as well. So the career outlook looks great and lots of opportunity to come in and craft your career. So now let me tell you about our program, the dietetic specialization, which I'm always really happy to talk about. So our program is unique in that it combines both the degree and the internship. So in some provinces, you do your degree and then you have to, apply again to find an internship somewhere. Here at the University of Alberta, the two things are integrated, which means that your degree requirements to complete the dietetic specialization factor in both the academic coursework and the internship practicum experiences. So students do one pre-professional year before you apply. That does not count towards the degree requirements for the program. Then you come into the dietetic specialization and do 3 years in the classroom, 1 full year of internship. Our program is also cohort-based. So what that means is that we take a maximum of 50 students into the program each year, and that cohort of students travels together and shares a similar course pattern across their entire time in university. So you get to know people really well. You have, 50 people who are experiencing many of the same things you are. So you have supports in your class. You definitely get to know people and, feel like you're connected, which is really important for people when you're in university. And our program is targeted specifically at students pursuing careers in registered dietitians. Certainly, the University of Alberta offers other degree programs in nutrition and food science that students can also explore and be admitted to. But in the dietetic specialization, it's targeted specifically at students who are pursuing careers as registered dietitians. All of the course selections and the content of our program is directly related to the knowledge and skills required of dietitians at the point of entry to practice. We work really closely with Alberta Health Services, Covenant Health, and the College of Dietitians of Alberta to make sure that what we are teaching reflects what you need to know now to have the knowledge and skills to pass the CDRE and also to come into work and have a job. We also focus on in-person learning within the dietetic specialization, although there are some parts of courses that may be online. The focus here is really coming together for in-person learning at the University of Alberta's North Campus in Edmonton. Dietetics is all about communication and working with people, and in-person learning makes you better skilled in that area. You are, you have to connect with people because you're in the same room with them, you're working with them. And so the in-person learning is another feature that just helps build those skills, but it also just helps you to connect with that cohort and have those supports and the people around you. As I mentioned, students do a full year of internship. Your senior year, year 4 in the dietetic specialization is comprised of 7 internship or practicum courses, totaling 44 weeks, so just shy of a year. And the 44 weeks does not factor in things like Christmas, so it works out to be a year. You work directly with patients, clients, you work with and under the supervision of practicing dietitians at healthcare and school settings across the entire province. So, you're doing in that year. It's not watching, it's doing. You've got the knowledge from the classroom. This is the opportunity to apply it, get feedback on your skills, and then make them even better so that by the end of the year, you are really, able to work independently and take on the job of a dietitian um, in the most immediate way. We do offer placements in rural and urban settings. Completion of practicum placements outside of Metro Edmonton and Calgary is a requirement of our program, and intentionally so. Healthcare in different places looks different. And in rural communities, the needs and focus of people in rural communities is different than urban. And for all of us working in healthcare, where even in an urban setting, people are referred to the large hospitals in Edmonton, Calgary, we need to know how the system works. We need to know the kind of constraints that people face, even in terms of the availability of foods outside of a big city. And so the rural and urban placement requirement helps you to really appreciate that. The other thing is for job opportunities, we want students to have the full spectrum of opportunities so that, there's multiple different locations where you could apply for work at the end if you wish to do so. So graduates of our program, as I mentioned, are completely ready to enter the health workforce immediately following completion of their program. We do have students where jobs are being held for them. Right now it's January. They'll go into those when they finish their program in April. And typically, if a student wants to work after graduation, that is not a challenge. Other people choose, instead of going to work, to actually come back and complete graduate studies in at the university, so a master's or a PhD. If someone is pursuing grad studies, typically they're looking at nutrition and metabolism, or perhaps public health, and others pursue things related to management or business administration to complement their dietetics degree, so an MBA. We do have dietitians who own their own businesses. They own a private practice. They offer services to the public, and they are the business owner and also the dietitian providing those services. And certainly we have dietitians who work for government and with industry. I collaborate currently with two of our past graduates. We're doing some research work. They both work for the Canadian Space Agency and for the Government of Canada with the Canadian Space Agency, looking at aspects of, how do we feed astronauts in space and at the International Space Station. We also have dietitians who work in government looking at nutrition policies for daycare and childcare facilities so that we, make sure that kids get the best possible start. Lots of kids are in care for, most of their day. That's where they're eating their meals. And we want to make sure that, we have policies in place that make it possible for them to eat really well. I also have colleagues who work in industry for groups like Alberta Milk Producers, where they're working within the dairy industry and working with people who connect with the dairy industry to promote healthy eating and nutrition. So certainly lots of opportunities within healthcare, but we do have students who want to go another route, and there are lots of opportunities to do that as well. So we are in the admission cycle for 2025, fall 2025 admission to the dietetic specialization. So if you are looking to apply to university for fall 2025 admission, let me tell you a little bit about the admission requirements for our program. So there is no direct entry from high school into the dietetic specialization. Like many other health professional practice programs in health, students need to complete a year of pre-professional courses before they can apply. So in that pre-professional year, you need to present grades for Biology 107, Chem 101 and 102, Chem 164 and 261, which is organic chem, 6 credits in English, or you could also do 3 credits in English and 3 credit units in writer's studies as an alternative to 6 in English. Nutrition 100, which if you are not a student at the University of Alberta, can be taken online or in open studies. And then Stats 151, so Introduction to Applied Statistics. Dietitians actually play with stats and some of the mathematics of statistics in our practice. So normally the pattern would look like this, where you're going to complete that pre-professional year, try to get your grades as high as you possibly can in the pre-professional year. And then after the pre-professional year, you're going to apply to the dietetic specialization. You don't have to have all of your grades or all of the courses completely finished when you make your application, but you do have to have them be finished in the winter term. So for example, if you were applying for fall 25 admission, and let's say you're currently enrolled in Chem 102 and Stats 151, that's fine, but we would need your grades by the end of April. So the application process, pretty straightforward. Really, you need to head over to uab.ca/apply. You're going to create an account. So it's going to ask you, to your name and some personal information. And then you're going to click on Start a New Application. You fill out all of the sections of the application, even if you've previously provided this information to the U of A. So let's say I'm currently in my first year in biological sciences. I want to come on over to dietetics. I'm going to fill all of this out just as though I, am starting afresh. And I'm going to select for my academic program, BSc Nutrition and Food Science with a specialization in dietetics. So even if you have already been a student at the U of A and maybe provided some of the info, you're going to do it again because it's treated like a little bit like a new application, because it is. And then the university will take care of all of the rest of that. So you're going to do that, put your name in, and off you go. The admission deadline, if you want to be considered, because it is a competitive process, if you want to be considered for admission to the dietetic specialization for September, you need to have everything submitted by March 1st, 2025. So don't be late. Things are open now, and you can submit your application at any point up to that deadline, but don't be late, because once the March 1st has passed, the deadline is passed, and we will not accept any additional applications. Now, things that we're going to look at to make decisions about admission are first and foremost your grades. So admissions are competitive. So what that means is the mere act of applying does not get you into the program. And you need to have a minimum admission grade point average of 3.0 on a 4.0 scale. So admission is calculated on all coursework completed in the two most recent terms, fall and winter. Provided that you've got 24 credits. If you don't, what we're going to do is go back and look at your GPA on the last term till we get to 24 credits. And you have to have completed all of the pre-professional courses that I talked about by the end of winter 2025 if you're applying for fall 2025 admission. So our first pass is really on your grades. We're going to look at that first. We do a holistic review, so we're going to look at your grades, and ultimately we're also going to consider your performance in a multiple mini interview. So students who are, we're going to get your applications in March. We're going to rank everybody based on their grade point average. The top pool of applicants will be invited to participate in a multiple mini interview as the final stage of our admission process. And in the multiple mini interview, we want to see what your communication skills look like, what your critical thinking skills look like. Grades are an important thing for healthcare professionals, but the other key part for all healthcare professionals, including dietetics, is those soft skills and those cognitive skills of critical thinking. So communication, empathy, and kindness for other people, critical thinking and problem-solving abilities, all of those things are assessed in the multiple mini interview, or MMI. And I like to think about the MMI a little bit like speed dating, which sounds weird, but essentially you will complete 7 video interviews where you will be asked a question and you're going to record your answer to the question. So it isn't an interview in the sense that you have, somebody on the other side of the desk and they're saying, "Hey, tell me about yourself." You're going to do an interview where you're going to be given a question, and you're going to be asked to offer your opinion, provide a solution to a problem, something like that. It will be recorded. You're not going to converse with an interviewer. And then our trained evaluators are going to take a look at your video and score it. You won't be present when that's happening. So when we decide ultimately who we're going to make admission offers to, we're looking at both grade point average and the student's performance on that multiple mini interview. So, and if you're wanting to apply to the program, no problem, and you need more information, please just reach out. So, you can contact our advisors, our recruiters, and all would be happy to provide you with more information about dietetics and, any sort of tidy up any questions that you might have about the admissions process, the application process, things like, do I have enough credits? Or I'm at Red Deer College, is this course okay? It's got a different number, but it sounds like the same thing. They will help you tidy up all of those kinds of questions. So that's the pieces I wanted to tell you guys about. And so I think now we open up the Q&A if I'm correct.
Yes, thank you, Heidi. So, for those of you that are still with us, if you have any questions for Heidi, or I can jump in at any point as well, please ask them in the Q&A section of the Zoom webinar, and we will see what comes in.
You
I will also just put out there that if you thought the session was incredible and have no questions, feel free to leave if you no longer have anything else that you would like to ask. We will not hold you all the way until 6 o'clock, but it looks like we do have a question. Heidi, if you want to take
Sure.
that one.
So, yeah, for sure. So the question, I think you guys can all see them, but it's, can you apply to nutrition and food science right after high school? And the answer to that is yes. So normally what we recommend as a path is that you seek admission to the nutrition and food science general program and do those pre-professional courses in the nutrition and food science general program. And then midway through that first year in the nutrition and food science general program, making sure you're taking all the pre-professional year courses, you can then make an application to the dietetic specialization. So great question.
I'll just add on because it seems like we have a high school student in here. I'm not sure which province you're located in, but you want to make sure when you're in grade 12 that you're taking your English, your Math 30-1, again, this is Alberta curriculum, your Biology 30 and your Chemistry 30, and then you'll need a fifth subject to hopefully gain admission to that general program. Which then, once you're in there, like Heidi said, you can work towards gaining admission to the dietetic specialization.
And I think it's good. I mean, you can do some of the coursework at other institutions, but one of the things that I've observed is that the transition to being in dietetics is just easier for people if they've already been at the U of A. Just a piece on that. Someone had a question about information about the language requirements. And so there is a spoken English requirement that students have to meet to be in dietetics, but you also have to meet the University of Alberta's base language requirements. And there's information about that on our website, and our advisors can also, help you there.
I will put in the chat the website that you can go to learn more about the language requirements, specifically the spoken English language requirement for the dietetics program. So everyone should be able to see this in the chat once I post it there.
Yeah, I can see it, so it must have worked. Yay. So I hope that's helpful. Next question is the nutrition and food science program a major for the Bachelor of Science program? It is. So the nutrition and food science program has actually got about 5 parts to it, 5 subdegrees. So there is the nutrition and food science general program, which sort of sits in the middle. It's a little bit of food science, a little bit of nutrition. You can't use that to be in dietetics, but it's a good starting point. From there, there's specializations in dietetics, and there's also a specialization in food science and technology. And then for people that really maybe want to take either food science or nutrition into more of a research type focus, we also have honors programs that stem out of that nutrition food science degree program.
I also want to clarify, just to make sure that everybody is on the same page, that you'll see the phrase Bachelor of Science across multiple faculties at the U of A. So you'll see the phrase Bachelor of Science exist in the Faculty of Ales, which is where this program lives. You'll also see it exists in the Faculty of Science, and you'll also see it exist in the Faculty of Kinesiology, Sport and Recreation as well. So for the purposes of the program we're discussing, whether it be the program you enter directly from high school, or the dietetics program, make sure that you're looking at that under the Faculty of Ales rather than, for example, the Faculty of Science, because you will not find it there, because
Never
that's
find
not
it.
where
You
it
won't.
lives, where it lives. Yeah. So just to make sure we're on the same page about that one.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, at the U of A, I mean, there's even a Bachelor of Science in nursing. So Bachelor of Science is just, science focus, right? And then what's attached, the next word is the one that tells you kind of where you're going. So are the pre-professional courses part of the general nutrition and food science program? Yeah, they will fit into that first year of the general program. So that if you decided at some point, hey, I really like this general program, you would not be behind. And if you're using them for admission to dietetics, you've completed your pre-professional year. And then the next question is, are you able to apply to the program if not accepted the first time? And the answer is yes, absolutely. So, you have an opportunity to do that. Sometimes students will apply a second time and they've just had a little bit more experience under the belt and they do very, very well. So you can definitely do that. And then there's a point, obviously, where people just, if you weren't accepted on multiple occasions, you're probably, looking at, I just want to make another choice, right? So. There you go. So I've completed all my prereqs for dietetics at McEwen. I just have Chem 261 missing. So if you wanted to apply for 2026 and you would have all those things done, you can certainly do that. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add from the recruiting perspective there.
Yeah, I think part of the later part of that question is just Chem 261 is the only class that's missing right now, but they're going to enter the general program for a whole year. So just like, can they fill the rest of their classes with any other classes? Like, would that matter in the
No,
application?
yeah, no, I mean, you're definitely going to need to fill your courses probably because otherwise you
Yep.
just have nothing. Or to have only Chems 261, but there's a multitude of other food and nutrition related courses that will help you gain credit in the general program. You can't take dietetic specific courses in the general program because you're not in dietetics yet, but there's lots of courses that lead up to that relate to nutrition that are very excellent background for you. So, yep.
Yeah.
And
And
there's
I
none
think
that
that
are specific. Like it's not like if you take this course, it's going to give you a leg up. We just look at your pre-professional year grades.
and because I think it might relate to this student as well, Heidi, could you just touch on what is considered full-time for the purposes of admission
Okay.
to
Yep.
dietetics?
Yeah, so full-time at the U of A is 3 courses in a term. So, and we really, I mean, I think I would encourage you to take the full 5 if you can, because it's when you are in the dietetic specialization, you will need to take a full load, and it just helps you to get into that. So, filling it out, rounding it out with those other courses is a really wise idea in university generally.
Yeah.
You want to do this one? Because
Yeah,
this
I
is
can
more
do this one.
directly.
Yeah, so I think this question is related to some previous questions. So if you have already applied to the Faculty of Science as a high school student, please don't panic. Let's stay calm in this scenario. As a science faculty of science student, you will have access to the same courses that we are referring to in this conversation. So you will have access to the biologies and the chemistries and the statistics, just as someone who entered the general nutrition and food science program would have access to. So it's just going to be your responsibility to make sure that you, again, register in the classes that are required, but the fact that you're in the Faculty of Science versus the Faculty of Ales is not going to negatively affect you in that process so long as you just plan accordingly. Um, and us in the recruitment team can absolutely help you with your course registration in that aspect as well.
Yeah, don't be afraid to talk to advisors, recruiters. people are here to help you. And sometimes I find out that students just fret about, things, and the answer is readily available to you. So just take advantage of it. The one brief interaction with an advisor or recruiter can take away a mountain of stress. So, yeah. Are there overlapping courses in transfer credit? I think is the question. So transfer credit, if you're admitted to dietetics, will be assessed when you're admitted. So at that point in time, our team's going to look at, what you would be eligible for transfer credit for. This is a cohort-based program. So if you do get credit for something that is overlapping, you would have a gap theoretically in your program. Typically, students fill that by taking an elective so that they still have that full load. But transfer credit, we do have agreements of things that transfer over, and it's quite a logical process. But nobody's going to look at that until you're admitted. So they won't, if you contact the advisors and ask them, will I get credit for this? They won't answer that until you've actually been admitted. They won't speculate. So I
We
hope that
don't we
makes
don't do speculation about transfer credit.
no,
Absolutely not. Yeah.
no, no.
So I can take the next two.
Sure.
So we've got a question. When do we start registering for courses? So you will start to hear about course registration starting in March. If you have been admitted already to any program at the U of A, you are going to receive a multitude of emails about course registration. We run workshops that show you how to use our course registration system. We show you how to build out your schedule correctly depending on your degree requirements. So that process will begin in March is when we'll start planning and making sure everyone's on the same page, but you will actually click submit and enroll sometime in early April. So just keep an eye on your email for that. Um, and then we got a question here. When applying to the nutrition food science program as a high school student, if I take calculus, will that be taken into consideration or just my 30-1 grade? So that's a great question because the answer could be both. So math 30-1 is required. So that is non-negotiable. That will absolutely always be included. However, as we spoke on before, you have your English, your math, your biology, and your chemistry, which is only 4 courses, but you always need 5 for admission. So that 5th course could absolutely be Math 31 or Calculus if you are just excelling at that and getting a great grade. But just know that they're not going to replace each other. The scenario would be that both would be used in the evaluation.
So in terms of transfer credit, I'll start and maybe jump in and help me out with on the recruiting side. So with the transfer credit piece, when we're looking at your grades and calculating your grade point average, we're going to do it on the 24 credits that you have. If you were, say, had 22 credits or some other weird number, didn't have a full term, they're going to go back and look at the whole term before that, not just individual courses, the whole term to calculate your GPA for the purposes of admission. So even more important than this question, because we get this student question a lot about GPA and going back in grades and all. Here's my advice to all students if you're applying, and I've been an academic instructor for a long time at U of A, at NATE. I've had this question many, many times. The most important thing that you can do, regardless of anything that you're applying to, is just try and get your grades up as high as you can. And not worry about a course, any of that. You get your grades up. Go to class, also important, and get your grades up. Those things, going to class helps you get your grades up, and getting your grades up takes away any of the concerns that you have about things like transfer credit, hitting the GPA, any of those things.
I think some clarity that comes into this situation that might be playing into this is we have some programs that are also health science related that will calculate science specific
Oh, I
GPAs.
see. Okay, yep.
So maybe if for the purposes of dietetics, if I'm not mistaken, it is truthfully just your most recent academic performance, so long as you have successfully completed the prerequisite courses. So
Correct.
for example, if I remember the previous question that this attendee asked, the majority of your dietetics prerequisites in year 1, but now you're doing year 2, which maybe filled with all electives for all we care. It's going to be the most recent 24, which in this scenario that we've just played out would be your electives. So hopefully that provides some clarity for this person.
Thank you. That's great. Oh, I think you got it. Yay, thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. Amazing.
Yeah, number of applicants. I mean, each year we have more applicants than we have positions. It's a competitive admission process. So again, this isn't always a question that we get. I think the most important thing is focus on making your application as strong as you possibly can, rather than, because I know students sit at home and calculate what's the percentage of a chance that I'm going to get in. And I think that causes a lot of stress to people. I would say most important thing again is to just make your application as strong as you possibly can so that you can get to that MMI process. And then during the MMI, we really want to see like get to know you. You can't study for the MMI. It's not possible. It's not that kind of an exam. It isn't a or interview. We want to get to know you. So, get your grades in a good place, be a competitive applicant. During the MMI, be yourself. Show us what you've got. We want to get to know you. It's really we want to make sure that people are in a place where they're really in a good fit. And but typically the numbers that are applying outnumber the spots. So it is a competitive admission process.
Okay, we have answered the questions thus far. We have about 9 minutes left, so if you're holding on to your question, let's get it out. Here we go, in the open, and we'll get through that in the last few minutes.
So references for 2025 are not required. So we used to have a requirement for references, and that has been removed for 2025.
Okay, I'm going to jump in and say we hopefully have gotten through everyone's questions. So, again, thank you all for joining us this evening. If you would like the recording for this presentation, in the confirmation email that you received when you signed up, there was an email address for the recruitment events team that you can contact, and we are absolutely able to share the recording with you. It will appear on a website at some point in the future, but I just can't guarantee when that will be. So if you want it more quickly, just reach out to us. And thank you, Heidi, for hosting this session. It is always great to learn a little bit more about the dietetics program. And I hope that those of you that attended found it helpful. So we'll end off for this evening, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks everyone for joining us. Have a good evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.